Waheguru ji ka khalsa, Waheguru ji ki fateh. My name is Gursant Singh, and I was a yoga student of Yogi Bhajan for about 30 years. Now, I was so close to Yogi Bhajan and his organization that Yogi Bhajan gave me many drawings and paintings that he had personally done. This was in the 1980s, when I was really involved in the art world. So Yogi Bhajan knew that I was interested in art, and he had me bring canvas and paper to him when he was living most of the time over at Dr. Allen's house on Pruce Road. Now, these drawings have been the subject of controversy. The Yogi Bhajan followers, or Bhajanists as I've called them, refused to give me these drawings, and it took me a long time to actually get them back. And now, for the first time, I'm revealing some of these drawings that I had to fight to get back from them. And you'll see why the Bhajanists did not want the public to see these drawings. They're pretty graphic, so I want to warn people that have small children not to let them see these. So I want to get people's opinion about what they think about these drawings, and ask yourself, are these the drawings of someone who should be a spiritual teacher? Let's look at the first ones here that I've collected. Now this shows most certainly a phallus. Here you can see that Yogi Bhajan is drawn. And he's written here the word God with his signature there. It's dated 1987. So ask yourself, why has Yogi Bhajan put this phallus here? Some might say this might be a vagina here. He really seems to be obsessed with genitalia. There are many drawings here of this collection, and they all pretty much have images of phalluses. I want to read for you here what Wikipedia says about the phallus and how it's psychoanalysis, how it's used in psychoanalysis. It says here, the symbolic phallus is a concept of being the ultimate man, and having this is compared to having the divine gift of a god. The phallus is used in psychoanalysis either as a symbol of ultimate male power or the female lack. In the male sense, it symbolizes the creation, ultimate power, omnipotence, and even godhood. So, was Yogi Bhajan, when he put down here God next to his name, symbolizing this phallus. Did he believe that the phallus was God? Well, you decide for yourself. But it seems very odd that he would use these phallic images all throughout his artwork. Here's another one here. And he's written power. There's his initials again. This phallus symbol. Put love here. It just seems very odd and very actually disturbing for someone that we followed as a spiritual teacher to have him put so much emphasis on these phalluses. Here's another one in this drawing. And again, he signed all of these. It says all. And he's got these phallic symbols, phalluses. More here. Now I'll point out here that there are some Hindu sects that worship the phallus. They call it a Shiv Lingam. And Yogi Bhajan's background may give some indication of where this obsession with phalluses and lingams comes from. You can see here there's a Hindu priest pouring milk over this Shiv Lingam or phallus. Yogi Bhajan's mother was Hindu. And we know that there was a Hindu last rites ceremony performed for Yogi Bhajan with a huge statue of Shiva in the background. You can find this article on Sikh News Network. It's called Yogi Bhajan Last Rites. Hindu last rites. So, one has to ask yourself, what was Yogi Bhajan's agenda? We also know that Yogi Bhajan was really into this Tantric yoga, which in India, if you know anything about Tantric yoga, it's all about sexual power and this Tantric sexual energy. Yogi Bhajan was accused by several of his female secretaries of raping them, sexually abusing them, and using his power over them for sex and money. Now here are some other drawings that I want to point out that are really disturbing too. This one is called Lick, he calls it. And again, you can see his initials there. Pretty disturbing. This one he calls Beast. You can see right there how he has Beast above his name. And maybe he's giving some indication about his true agenda there and his inner personality when he puts Beast just above his name. You can see this is a picture of a very ugly head here. Very strange. Then he also has some drawings here of body parts. Now, I've seen articles about how mass murderers have drawn pictures of body parts, like Charles Manson and other mass murderers. it's not something I would expect a spiritual teacher to be drawing here. It's kind of strange, really. He also makes a drawing here of a broken knife. And reading about psychoanalysis on the internet, I saw that the knife also can be a phallus symbol. So his power has been broken somehow. It says help here above his name. So is YB or Yogi Bhajan reaching out for help? Were these his inner thoughts? That he was really a beast and he was reaching out for help? Well, these are some questions I think we should all ask. Now, I want to point out here the provenance on these paintings and drawings, so people understand that these are real. Because I have had some questions about that. There was a book recently, well, not recently, but shortly after Yogi Bhajan died. It was published by his organization. It's called The Game of Love. And you can see here, this is the drawing in the book, or the painting, I should say, that is depicted in the first frames of this video. You can see Yogi Bhajan drawing them. Now, when they published this book, the Yogi Bhajan people, they named me as one of the contributors. And I gave them many drawings, none of which of these they put in the book, by the way. But this big painting they did, they put it actually as a featured painting in the book. So I think this really is a pretty convincing provenance of these Yogi Bhajan paintings and drawings. Here again is that picture. Here's the painting that is in the book, The Game of Love. Probably should have called it The Game of Lust. So you can see this is the same picture there. And then here's the cover of the book here. This is the cover here. I don't know if this book is still available, but in fact this is a book of Yogi Bhajan's drawings. So these were all drawings that, like I said, were not put in the book. There might be one or two, but not a lot of these that show the phalluses. Because obviously the Yogi Bhajan people don't want you to see these. But this really has some indication, I think, into Yogi Bhajan's mindset, his psychological profile, if you will, would be indicated in his drawings here. Now, I also want to point out a book that I would recommend people read, which give you some more background into Yogi Bhajan and his thinking about this Tantric yoga we talked about. This book was written in 1977 by Dr. Gursant Singh, who is a Sikh scholar and historian. He spent several months with Yogi Bhajan, and he observed a lot of these Tantric practices back then, and he wrote this book, which was critical, quite critical of Yogi Bhajan and his practices. So, of course, these drawings were done back then in 1977 because they were done in the 80s mostly. So, but Dr. Gursant Singh observed many other practices of Yogi Bhajan and, in essence, predicted many of the things that Yogi Bhajan did, which were deemed to be un-Sikh-like by many Sikhs and other people. So I invite you to research more about Yogi Bhajan's true personality and psychological profile. I have many other videos out there which talk about Yogi Bhajan's practices and how many Sikhs feel like his practices are completely against the Sikh teachings. I've also written a book called Confessions of an American Sikh, which tells about my experience with Yogi Bhajan over the 30 years I was with him. And I go into great detail about many of the frauds and the luxurious lifestyle that Yogi Bhajan lived. I was on security most of the time. And one of the important things that I observed was that in 1984, when Yogi Bhajan was sued by Premkar, one of his lead secretaries, for rape and sexual abuse and many other really horrible things that Yogi Bhajan was alleged to have done, he was deposed by Premkar's attorneys. But Yogi Bhajan would always make excuses that he had to go he had a heart condition, and he would not go to the deposition. But I personally observed that we went to La Scala, Beverly Hills for lunch every day, spent thousands of dollars on lunch, and we'd go shopping in Beverly Hills on Beverly Boulevard for gems and jewelry. And so, of course, I didn't know any of this at the time. But Yogi Bhajan, in my opinion, could have easily have gone to those depositions if he could have gone to La Scala and gone shopping in Beverly Hills every day. He just didn't want to tell the truth. That was my conclusion about what happened with him and Premkar. And there wasn't only just Premkar. There was other lawsuits too. I just uncovered another lawsuit where Yogi Bhajan told a young woman to have her tubes, her sexual tubes, reproduction tubes, I should say, tied, and then she later sued him. And so it wasn't just a few instances of these type of sexual corruptions on Yogi Bhajan's part. So think about if this drawing here is really revealing Yogi Bhajan's true personality. Thank you for your time. Waheguru ji ka khalsa, Waheguru ji ki fateh.